Chris Lynch with ePark Canterbury. Park at 264 Russie Road and go in the draw to win a trip to Samoa. eParkcanterbury.co.nz.
Wigram MP Dr Megan Woods has started a petition urging the government to reconsider its decision and fund the pedestrian and cycling overbridge on the very busy Brougham Street. The government decided against funding the $90 million Brougham Street upgrade, citing a lack of available funds. And Megan Woods is with me now. Hello to you, nice to see you.
Great to see you, Chris.
Before we get started, let's just quickly delve into what you are the former Energy Minister after all. What are your thoughts on the government's oil and gas announcements yesterday?
There's many thoughts, Chris. First of all, it's taking New Zealand backwards. The reality is, even if we're not going to ban oil and gas, there has not been a significant find of oil and gas offshore in New Zealand since 2000. We've got to be planning for a different future. That different future is renewables, and the good thing for New Zealanders is that is the cheapest form of energy that we can produce. The other thing that really concerns me about the legislation that they're going to introduce is I understand it's taking away the taxpayer protection we put in place after the government had to pick up the tab for hundreds of millions of dollars for the cleanup when one of those companies left and didn't decommission in the way it needed to. We put in place a provision that basically it increased the liability, said if we're not sure you can pay, we want you to put some money up front for that cleanup for these big companies that are making profits out of New Zealand. I think it's only fair they clean up. It disturbs me that this government's going to remove that protection and put taxpayers potentially having to foot that bill again for us.
Shane Jones said natural gas is essential for maintaining our electricity supply, particularly during peak demand and when generation dips due to intermittent sources like wind, solar and hydro. Does he have a valid point there?
Absolutely. And that's why our plan had us seeing us use fossil gas through to the 2040s, to the 2050s. None of the existing permits were touched when we ended new exploration. What people need to know is that anything that had been found from 2018 would probably still be a decade away from being in production now. That we've got permits that run through into the 2040s, and I think from memory, some even into the 2050s. But what we have to be doing is planning how we move away from that. How is it that we keep the lights on in a renewable way? Because the thing is, for many people, the climate issue is really important, and I'm one of them. But the other thing, if that's not kind of floating your boat, is actually burning oil and burning coal to make electricity will make electricity unaffordable for New Zealanders. The price of electricity is set by the most expensive unit we produce, and that is coal and gas. If we can store energy renewably and we can create it renewably, it will lead to cheaper power bills for New Zealanders and for our businesses.
But it's a simple fact that we don't have the infrastructure currently in place to make sure that we can use alternatives, though. I mean, what you're saying, I'm sure many people would agree with, but we don't have the infrastructure yet, do we?
So build it. And that's what our government was doing. And that's what this government has scrapped. We had a project looking at ways in which we'd store energy in a renewable form, whether that be using geothermal, whether that be using large-scale, grid-scale batteries, whether that be using our hydro scheme. There's lots of alternatives. We've got a decade or more to do this. There is a transition, but a transition doesn't mean you stand still and get stuck in the status quo. You've got to have a plan, and you've got to be planning for that future. And this government has slashed and burned all that forward-looking work that was going on. They are taking us backwards, Chris.
You talk of slashing. Excellent segue, Dr Megan Woods. Brougham Street is one of Christchurch's busiest street. It won't be receiving that upgrade. Are you more disappointed about the overall upgrades not going ahead, or specifically about the pedestrian crossing?
So as the local MP, I'm really concerned about the pedestrian crossing. This is Brougham Street, and I think anyone that's seen Brougham Street as people come off the southern motorway there, just as you come off, it's so busy. There's trucks barrelling down there, and there's kids that have to cross to get to the local school. 2/3 of the kids that go to Eddington School live on the northern side of Brougham Street and have to cross it to get to school. We've also got a retirement village over the other side. The doctors and the pharmacy are on the other side of Brougham Street. So I'm really concerned from a safety point of view. We've already seen a cyclist fatality at that intersection back in 2020, I think it was. This is a needed safety upgrade. But as a Christchurch and as a South Island MP, I am also concerned that Brougham Street is a vital economic vein for our South Island economy, getting things to Littleton Port, making that as productive and as efficient as possible. The other thing, Chris, I'm a bit outraged as a Christchurch and a South Island MP, only 2 of the 15 projects the government are going to fund are in the South Island. The other 13 are all in the North Island. What we've seen is South Island projects getting the chop and that money put into North Island projects. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think we're getting our fair share. We need Brougham Street to be upgraded.
The government has attributed the lack of funding to previous government's spending. Do you accept that, or is that just another easy excuse to say blame the previous government?
Look, they've been in government, 7-8 months now. I think the feet should firmly be under the table. The fact of the matter, when you're in government, things happen all the time. You can't just keep blaming the other guys forever. The job of being a minister is to deal with those things and make sure you're still delivering for New Zealanders. We had to do that through our 6 years in government. I think people are finding that, it's their fault, it wasn't me, a bit tiresome now. That yes, you do need to budget, but Chris, the thing is, the way that they're funding those North Island projects is by cutting out South Island ones. So I think there's a real inequity. We're bearing a greater burden of making that money go a long way. The reality is construction costs have gone up. They've been going up for a period of time. The whole world is seeing that after COVID. And, the government makes choices every day. It made a decision to fund $2.9 billion into tax relief for landlords at the budget. It could have made a decision to actually put some of that into roading projects so kids could get to school safely, and I know which one I'd be choosing.
How is your petition progressing so far, Megan?
Well, it's just gone up last week. I'm calling it the soft launch, Chris. So if anyone wants
soft
to go
launch.
Soft launch. It's on my Facebook page.
Right.
We'll be doing some more work around that. I'm visiting all the local schools, and we'll be getting out onto the doorsteps and writing to people in Addington, talking to local shops, because I know there is a lot of feeling in the Addington community about the fact that we've just got to find a safe way to get people across Brougham Street. I challenge anyone to go and sit there at kind of 8:15 to 8:45 to think about whether they'd want their kids having to run that gauntlet to get to school.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. It's, I drive it nearly every day, and you think to yourself, gee, you wouldn't want to be a cyclist or a pedestrian on that crossing. It is dangerous. And I've got to say, I've seen some of the designs NZTA's put out. Well, I think they're more skeleton designs, but they do look good, and it does look like a necessity to me.
Absolutely, and I actually think this was an example of the Wakago Tahi or NZTA working really, really constructively with the local community. It started off talking about an underpass. The Addington community said an underpass isn't the right thing for our community. We don't want it. We don't think it will be safe. And then kind of worked through about what would be something that was a fit for that community. And really, by the end of it, the tragedy of this is the community are championing it. They think that this is actually a good thing, and I think it was, hats off to those staff members that worked so constructively with the local community to get something that was the right fit for Addington.
Wigram MP, Dr. Megan Woods, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Cheers.